listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
Hello everybody, trackside here at Clay Pigeon Raceway and of course around the world via Downforce UK as well. We are here for the Saturday afternoon's practice sessions for the BirelART UK Series of 2018, the second round of the championship, although officially it's round 3, but we did rather get snowed off a little bit at Wilton Mill back in March, and I was the only person who actually managed to get any laps done on that day, on that Sunday, in my Mazda 5. The less said about that, the better. But anyway, the second round of the championship in 2018, and we are here at the Clay Pigeon Raceway circuit on a BEA beautiful Saturday in the sunshine here. It's been an absolutely fantastic day thus far with our 3-time sessions in our 3 separate classes, and we are out there on the circuit at the moment, pounding laps around the circuit here for the final timed practice before we head into tomorrow's action. For those listening to the BirelART UK Series via Downforce UK and are listening for the first time, basically the weekend works like this. We do testing all the way through Saturday, and then we head into the qualifying session on Sunday morning. And then each of our 3 classes, cadets, juniors and seniors, will have a collection of races, a heat, a pre-final and a final. And each one is scoring points for the championship. And of course there are 3 championships to compete for. The cadets aged 8 to 13, the juniors aged 11 to 16, and then the seniors aged 16 plus. So that is how the championships work. The karts are very, very simple, all built by BirelART at their factory over in the middle of England. And of course the BirelART cadet karts are 60cc engines, the juniors are 100cc engines, the seniors are 125cc engines. And obviously a lot of drivers get to have an awful lot of fun with their machinery over the course of the season. We're here in the cadet session at this precise moment in time, the 4th of our sessions, and this is the one when drivers are putting their transponders on effectively for the first time over the course of the weekend. So this gives us our first real indication as to what the drivers are doing in terms of their pace. So at the moment we have Ella Stevens currently at the top of the table, and that's not a massive surprise considering how she is the reigning champion in the BirelART UK Cadets, is also racing in various other championships at national level this year, and last week at Lark Hall she was in the top 20 in the country. So good to see her right here at the moment, doing as good a job as we have come to expect from her in the BirelART UK Series. Then we have Oakley Keatley currently running second, the top rookie from last year. Kylan Ingram, Nathan Tye, Charlie Humphreys are all very much in the mix, with the newcomer Archie Heron in the top 6 at this moment in time, with the likes of Craig Evans, another rookie, going very well in cadets. Jamie Gurney is another top talent in this category, Jamie Scott and Lily Jeffs, Aidan Hassan, and then we have Hudson Cross. And then we have various others all trying to move their way forward. But we had a very successful morning in the Cadet Academy earlier this morning, with several other drivers taking to the karts for the very first time as they got themselves up and running for the 2018 season. And as things currently stand, it is still Ella Stevens at the top of the table from Oakley Keatley and Kylan Ingram, with Nathan Tye, Charlie Humphreys and Archie Heron in pursuit. Craig Evans, Jamie Gurney, Jamie Scott, Lily Jeffs, Aidan Hassan, Hudson Cross, Jamie Warner and the newbie Chase Sharp all in the mix as well. Good to see the cadets really starting to put in some decent lap times. Some solid pace from the drivers out there as well. We have a slightly depleted field across the 3 classes this weekend, and that is largely due to the fact that it is exam season, particularly in the juniors. There's a few faces that are not here this weekend who obviously will really find it quite tough to trek the several hours down to the gorgeous Dorset countryside here, and are doing exam season at the moment, so obviously their education has to take priority. So they will do as good a job as they possibly can given the circumstances, and when they return to us in the next round at Fulbeck, we'll have a full capacity field once again. So we have the cadets out there just putting in some decent laps in the 12-minute practice sessions. We'll try and talk to a few of the drivers that will be racing here this weekend over the course of the afternoon as well, just to give you enough time to get in the feel and in the mood. Anybody who's got any messages for us up here on the Downforce UK feed at Clay Pigeon, do please send them in via the Spreaker chat or tweet us at Downforce UK, and we will get chatting to everybody around the circuit and further afield who has some bits and pieces that they want answered in terms of questions, how drivers are doing, and who want to give messages of good luck to various drivers as Aiden Hassan goes out for his last couple of tours around the circuit. It's a very short race circuit, this one. It's only about 40 seconds or so for the lap in cadets, which when you consider that the seniors and the juniors will be doing it in a little under 35 seconds, really does give you an indication of just how tight the circuit is around here. It's very fast flowing, very high energy, lots of overtaking opportunities and lots of great racing. And of course, 30 years ago, almost to the day, is the day when Jenson Button started his racing career on this very circuit. His nearby town of Frome is just down the road from here. And it's quite incredible to think that 3 decades on from such an incredible beginning of an amazing legacy, there are still great drivers and great talents here at the Clay Pigeon Raceway. And the Clay Pigeon Karting Club still gets regularly big numbers in terms of their entries. A good 180 or so last week, I'm told, which is great news and really good to see that the local karting scene here in Dorset is still alive and kicking. The BirelART UK Series was here last 10 months ago, and we've had a really exciting day at the racetrack here again this year. Even on the Saturday, through the testing sessions, everybody's got a massive smile on their face. They love this circuit. It's great racing, provided and guaranteed, and we should get some absolutely terrific battles once we get underway and racing. It's a very social atmosphere, the BirelART UK Series as well. Everybody is very much in with each other. The drivers are all good mates. They battle away with each other on the track, but once they come back in, it's time to socialise and party. I hear there's a barbecue going on a little bit later on this evening. Everybody's brought their bikes, their tents and their campers, including myself, actually. I've even gone down the camping route this weekend. So it's a very good weekend for socialising and getting an idea and enjoyment of the sun. And it will be an absolutely fantastic weekend here for the racing. 15 seconds left on the clock as the drivers are just putting in their final few laps around the circuit. That noise you hear are the cadets at play as they try and put in their best possible lap times in these 2 timed sessions. And that gives us a little bit of an indication as to what the pace will be over the course of the sessions. So now we have all of the drivers out there. Ella Stevens still at the top from Oakley Keatley, Kylan Ingram, Nathan Tye, Charlie Humphreys, Archie Heron. Callum Lockett is the 92. There was one transponder that didn't have any information attached to it. Now it does. And it's Callum Lockett who's right there in the top 10 from Craig Evans, Jamie Gurney and Jamie Scott. Then it is Lily Jeffs, Aiden Hassan, and then Hudson Cross, Jamie Warner and Chase Sharp. A few of those drivers in the field were also taking part in this morning's Cadet Academy, where we saw a few new faces as drivers start to assess whether or not they can be racing in the Cadet Championship when they come of age at 8 years old. So the drivers will be doing their very best and working hard to make sure that they have all of the preparation they need to go racing at the top of their game. So the drivers will now make their way into the pits with Ella Stevens as the top driver in the cadets time charts. And Ella Stevens' fastest lap of 40.212, less than a tenth of a second faster than Oakley Keatley, who is just 0.051 off the pace. That shows it's going to be very close between those two this weekend over 1 lap. In terms of racecraft, well, that's going to be a very different matter, and it's all going to be about who the most prepared drivers are going to be when the cadets come out for timed qualifying first thing tomorrow. We know at least over 1 lap that the 2 most likely to compete for pole position are going to be Ella Stevens and Oakley Keatley. But then we have Kylan Ingram, Nathan Tye and Charlie Humphreys all within a tenth of each other, 4 tenths back. So the battle will be close with Archie Heron, the rookie, right up there in the top 6. Great to see him doing so well. And Archie Heron, having really turned a developmental corner in the last couple of weeks, has got himself right up the order for the 2nd round of the championship. But great work for Oakley Keatley, as he is less than a tenth off the ultimate pace of Ella Stevens. And that's going to be an interesting qualifying battle tomorrow. Our attention now switches from the cadets to the juniors. As the cadets come back into the clubhouse, no doubt we'll be able to talk with a few of them as the weekend is going to build. But lots of great racing to come over the weekend. But it's practice today. The juniors heading out onto the circuit for their 12 minutes. And the drivers will get some very good laps out of these karts. The juniors head out onto the circuit and the timer ticks down. The digi-clock will update very shortly on the start-finish line to show the time remaining. But the fastest driver from the cadet session was Ella Stevens by 0.051. And great to see her do such a fantastic job in her first major time session of the weekend. So with the number 1 remaining P1 at the moment, our attention focuses onto the juniors, who are having a great run at the moment. And heading the pack as they run around the circuit, it is the E-plate Sam Cunliffe, who is the Easy Kart Open champion last year at a very drizzly circuit at Shennington, where his incredible tyre strategy gave him the chance to leapfrog the rest of the competition and grab the victory. Brilliant racing from him on that day, and that's how he's now the carrier of the E-plate. But there is more great racing to be had from him as the battle continues on. Here's Harry Graham coming out of the final turn, the number 3 plate last year. 3rd in the championship in 2017, and is hoping to win the whole thing in 2018, although the battle is going to be very, very tough. And if last time out is anything to go by, then Callum Gunning is going to be a very interesting competitor for the 2018 season. Drivers still running around and doing a fantastic job in the early stages of proceedings. And the juniors are working very hard around the circuit just to get their tyres up to temperature, brakes up to temperature as well. And then they'll get their ultimate pace. This is, for a lot of drivers, their first real test of how they'll be able to go through the heats and pre-finals. Although the real test is going to be the final, because, of course, the final is longer than any of these practice sessions. So they will actually find it really hard to keep their setup working really well over the course of the sessions. But interestingly enough, the fastest lap in the early stages of testing in this session is actually Dylan Reed, the man who usually tends to miss most of Saturdays because his school schedule is very different from other drivers, in that he has a school day on a Saturday. But this is almost very nearly where he lives, this part of the world. It's his local track, so it's not too far for him to come at all. He knows the place very well, and as a result of that, he seems to be going around here very quickly indeed. So Dylan Reed looking the strongest of the juniors at the moment. Elsewhere, we've got Ben Gartside going very quick. In fact, Gartside has just pipped Dylan Reed, as has Tom Harvey. Now, Tom Harvey is one of the new boys in the championship, because, of course, he was racing in cadets last year, was the runner-up in the championship, and has moved up to juniors for this campaign, and is already blindingly quick in these junior karts at Clay Pigeon. Seems to be going very well. So with Tom Harvey going to the top of the table, Scott Huntley now second from Ben Gartside, Nicky Taylor, Dylan Reed and Harry Graham. Just a quarter of a second between them all. Gartside now goes second. Cunliffe now goes fourth. And it's Taylor, Reed, Gunning, Graham, Baldry and Davison. That's your top 10 at the moment. Then we have Morgan Cole from the new boy in the class, Dylan Briley, who's stepping up this weekend from the cadet category. And no doubt we'll be talking to him over the course of the weekend as well. Good to see him making the jump up. Never really had a lot of luck in the cadet class, but has already been going very quickly indeed in the juniors, and loves this car, feels much more stable in it, and I have to say, it looks to me like he could well turn the corner developmentally as well. Looks really strong. And that's the number 101 kart this weekend. Dylan Briley has gone 11th fastest thus far. Jack Rigg has crept into the top 10 as well. So having just come off the karts, let's have a quick word with one of the cadets, one of the rookies as well in the cadets, Craig Evans. Craig, tell us a little bit about what the circuit's doing at the moment.
It's not as good as it was. It's gone a little bit cooler, but it's definitely getting enough grip. Just put new tyres on, so we're getting a lot more grip out the corners, not sliding as much, and trying to get a faster lap time for try and get a good lap time so we can get quali done.
And you had some interesting practice sessions this morning. There were some difficult moments, but you're coming out through that and actually finding that you're quite fast around this circuit.
Yeah.
So tell us about what your preparation now is like for qualifying. What's the game plan?
The game plan is really go out in the start, try and get a fast lap time as soon as possible and come in. Try and save the tyres for the finals.
It's a really competitive grid in cadets this year because there's almost as many rookies now as there are established drivers. So is your target this year to basically be the best of the rookies?
Yeah.
Okay, so when the field is that close, I mean, how do you gain an advantage over the other drivers? Where do you find that sweet spot?
I think I'm good at quite a lot of good at attacking. I'm not that good at defending, but a couple of them are not that confident, so I can make the more daring overtaking moves.
Okay, thanks for that, Craig. It's good to catch up with you, and hopefully it's a good weekend.
Thanks.
So there we go, Craig Evans there, the number 98 in the cadets, and he's going to be one to watch this weekend, I think. His pace in practice has been very strong, and he's been pushing it very hard. Had a couple of incidents in this morning's practice session, but has been going very quick since then. So Craig is definitely going to be one of the drivers to keep an eye on, as the established elite guard of rookies this season is really starting to show its hand. Plenty of drivers to talk about over the course of the weekend, and plenty of races to come over the weekend. We've got 9 races over the course of tomorrow. It is going to be live streamed as well via Alpha Live, and those who can't make it all the way down to gorgeous Dorset will have to make do with the Alpha Live stream via the BirelART UK Series Facebook page. But it does kick off from about 10:30 tomorrow with qualifying, and then we go into each of the heats for each of the 3 classes, then the finals, starting with the pre-final and then the final itself. So all very exciting stuff, and all going to be very, very interesting to observe. Tom Davison is now the fastest in the junior time session, by the way, here in the practice. Tom Davison, along with Toby Baldry in 2nd position and Dylan Reed in P3. Jack Rigg is 4th now. Great to see Jack Rigg really starting to jog on a pace, up in the top 5. 5th position is Harry Graham. 6th is Ben Gartside. Then it's Nicky Taylor, Sam Cunliffe, Tom Harvey, Scott Huntley, rounding out the top 10. Then it's Louis Ross. The man who dominated at Landau, Callum Gunning, is 12th at the moment. That's how close it is, and that's only half a second back to Davison. Then it is Dylan Brierley, behind Callum Gunning. Then Lewis Berry, Morgan Cole, Alicia Barmowski, Connor Stanton, and Vijay Ramlal. So it's amazing, isn't it, what a few weeks has done to the form book. It's completely changed from last time at Landau to here at Clay Pigeon, and that's what we love about this championship. You never know from one week to the next who's going to be on the top form, and yet again more mechanical woes in the practice session for Morgan Cole, as the number 74 has come to a stop after the S's yet again. I do not know what this guy has to do to cut himself a break, but Morgan Cole is having a miserable time at the moment. In the last 6 races he has finished twice. It's been an absolutely appalling start to his 2018 campaign, in a similar fashion to the way he ended it last year. But it's definitely time for Morgan Cole to catch a breather from his point of view. And he'll be very disappointed about the fact that he hasn't quite been able to get things up to speed for the remainder of this campaign. But there's going to be some amazing racing as the championship continues here. When we move on from Clay Pigeon, the 2nd round of the championship, we have 6 more fantastic rounds of the 2018 championship. Round 3 is from Full Bet, which is in 2 weeks' time. And then 2 weeks later, we go to Wilton Mill to run the initial opening round of the championship that was snowed off back in March. Then we head over to Glanigorse Park in July, and that's going to be an amazing weekend. So many people are going to be coming out for that one. Then we have the first weekend of September to my local circuit, Hooton Park, just outside Ellesmere Port in Cheshire. And then it's going to be the last 2 rounds of the championship at Shennington, the scene of the E-Plate last year. And then, of course, we will have another fantastic run for the finale at Wilton Mill at the end of the season in November. So the juniors still panning around, getting some good lap times in. Tom Davison at the top. He'll be mighty happy with that. 3 minutes to go in the session, but that's going to give him plenty of confidence for this weekend. The new kart colour scheme looks very strong, I have to say. He's got himself new branding for the new season, thanks to his sponsorship deal for this season with, I think it's EcoServe is the brand he's with. I'm going to double check that as he comes through. Harry Graham is stablemate in the virtual racing world, and great friend here in the BirelART UK Series grid. 2 drivers battling away, doing a fantastic job in the world of sim racing, but here in the karting world, doing another cracking job as well. Here comes Tom Davison. It's the Metsource kart, my apologies. So Tom Davison, 1st position from Toby Baldry, then Dylan Reed and Jack Rigg. Great to see Jack Rigg up in the top 5. He deserves that. He's been working so hard, and it's wonderful to see him really reap the rewards of this kart, well set up for this situation. So Jack Rigg is up there in the top 5 on merit and great determination. Harry Graham in 5th from Ben Gartside, Nicky Taylor, Sam Cunliffe, Tom Harvey, Scott Huntley and Callum Gunning. Then Louis Ross, Dylan Brierley, Lewis Berry, Morgan Cole, Connor Stanton, Alicia Barmowski, and Vijay Ramlal. And there's very nearly a second covering the entire field. That's how close it is in the junior racing world here at BirelART UK. It's always been this tough, it's always been this close, and it's great to see that not much has changed over the course of the last few weeks. The senior brigade, which is of course nowadays made up of the two 125cc classes from last year, now thrown into the same grid. It used to be Super Elites and Super Masters in two different classes, but they decided to amalgamate the two classes into one super grid for the 2018 season. They raised the minimum weight for the Super Elites, and they lowered the minimum weight for the Super Masters. Pretty much all of the drivers have risen to the challenge and accepted that they're going to have to carry a little bit more lead weight or do some work in the gym. And everybody has really raised their tempo, and we had an amazing meeting at Landau last time in which the battle went right to the wire between Sam Faulkner and Matthew Pearce. And there was a little technical glitch that cost Sam Dimolo the chance to go for the podium when it was all looking so rosy for him. But there's some great racing to come from that class, and we'll tell you more about it as we get there. But the juniors are just ticking over to a finish of this particular practice session. Tom Davison from Toby Baldry, Dylan Reed and Jack Rigg. No changes in the top four. From Harry Graham, Ben Gartside, Nicky Taylor, Sam Cunliffe, Tom Harvey. Scott Huntley shoots up to P5 there with his fastest lap right towards the end of the session. But we've got a good 20 seconds to go in the session, so there's still a chance for a few more drivers to get a flying lap in. So they continue to run around the circuit and out of the final turn. The checkered flag will fly this time, and it's the 81 of Connor Stanton that comes across the line first. And Connor Stanton's best time is a 36.493. So not bad going, but he'll want to find a little bit more time in readiness for qualifying, and he's got one more session to do that. But Tom Davison emerges as the fastest from the time practice session. Session number 4 this weekend, it is Tom Davison who is the fastest on a 35.991. A 35.374 is his fastest time, my apologies. Then it's Toby Baldry in second, from Dylan Reed, Jack Rigg, Scott Huntley, Harry Graham, Ben Gartside, Nicky Taylor, Sam Cunliffe, and rounding out the top 10 is Tom Harvey. Then it is Callum Gunning from Louis Ross, Dylan Briley, Lewis Berry, Morgan Cole, Connor Stanton, Alicia Parmowski and Vijay Ramlal. That's the order at the moment in the juniors. And it's great to see Tom Davison really starting to get the hang of this kart on this circuit in these conditions and put in a stellar performance. Now, the senior class, it's always a little bit more sluggish in terms of drivers getting out onto the circuit. They don't tend to spend the same 12 minutes just pumping around the circuit in the same laps. So we'll see how the drivers get on in the seniors. A lot of them are not going to be arriving until tomorrow, we gather, as well. So some of them are doing testing today. Others of them are going to be waiting around until tomorrow. But some great times put in there by some great drivers. Great to see some good progress from Tom Davison. Jack Rigg in the top 5, he'll be happy with that. Good moves from the likes of Ben Gartside and Tom Harvey into the top 10. Really good to see them doing a fantastic job in the practice session there. And that makes us convinced of the fact that tomorrow is going to be very close indeed, as the drivers continue to try and gain a bit more time ready for tomorrow. But with the fastest time of that practice session for Tom Davison, that's going to be really interesting, and some great battles behind them. Tom Davison from Toby Baldry, Dylan Reed, Jack Rigg in P4. He'll be delighted with that. Then Scott Huntley, Harry Graham, Ben Gartside, Nicky Taylor, Sam Cunliffe, and rounding out the top 10 is Callum Gunning from Louis Ross, Dylan Briley, Lewis Berry, Morgan Cole. Then it is Connor Stanton, Alicia Parmowski, and Vijay Ramlal. So that is your 18 drivers in the juniors doing their testing runs. And I have to say, full credit to the likes of Tom Davison and Jack Rigg, who really deserve their top 5 performances there in the practice sessions. And we'll try and hear from as many drivers over the course of the next hour or so that we are out here before we wrap up proceedings ready for tomorrow's racing, which will kick off with the qualifying sessions at about 10:30. And we'll be live on Downforce UK as well as on the BirelART UK Series Facebook page. So any messages you've got for any drivers that are here, if you can't make it, then do please send them to us and we will get the word out there and we will send them those messages of goodwill and good luck. Here come the drivers in the Super Elite Championship, the senior category, with the 125cc karts. And this has been a really compelling story in the early part of 2018 because we've had effectively 3 battles into one here, because we've had the Super Elites from last year. That's the first battle, the likes of Sam Faulkner versus Matthew Pearce, with Richard Evans in the mix as well. And Amy Jurger, who is not here this weekend, I believe. She's not going to be back until fullback, because she's in the middle of exam season. Then we have the Super Masters battle from last year, the likes of Sam Dimolo, Ben Yeomans, Neil Fisher, and all of the drivers from that brigade last season. And then, of course, we've also got the 3 juniors who are stepping up to the 125cc championship this year, who have been on the pace right from the off, and that's Tyrone Stansfield, Harry Barlow, and Thomas Massarella. So effectively, you've got on paper about 9 drivers who could win this year's championship just from that collection of names. 9 or 10 drivers, really. So great to see how close it's going to be in the 2018 season. And this has definitely been the class that a lot of drivers and spectators have been keeping an eye on. And it's also great to see a return to the paddock for this weekend to the number 9 of Jonathan Corrie, who was 9th in last year's championship, hence why he runs as the 9 seed. And great to see him back in action here this weekend. But there's a few other drivers it's worth pointing out that we'll see in action over the course of the season. Michael Roots, who battled so well last year at the races he could attend in the senior brigade. And Matt Ogle, who of course is one of the race engineers at the Carlin Motorsport team and is working with the up-and-coming young talent Fenestraz in the FIA European Formula 3 Championship and did a cracking job at Pau last week. So great to see him out here doing what he does best, racing in the BirelART UK Series again. And with such a competitive field in the 2018 season for 125cc's, it really is going to be interesting to see who emerges as the champion. Landau answered some questions to a certain degree, but it hasn't really told us the whole story. So we've got a lot of things to talk about as the meetings progress. So the senior sessions, the seniors are not all rushing out in one horde. Some of them are not actually arriving at the circuit till tomorrow and are negating the whole day's testing here this weekend to focus on their work commitments. But there are a few drivers out there who are doing a few bits and pieces and trying to see what they can get out of their karts. So it will be an entertaining season, whatever happens. But here this weekend, we'll find out a few more chapters in that amazing novel that is the 125cc championship campaign in 2018. Sam Faulkner is currently the man leading the championship at the moment after his display at Landau last time, and he is leading this session as well, just ahead of Harry Barlow, Sam Dimolo, Matthew Pearce. Tyrone Stansfield has just gone quicker than Pearce, by the way, and Dimolo's just gone quicker than Barlow. But then next up is George Friday, another one of the drivers we tip for great things in the 125cc category. Sean Port, David Darling, Dave Burns and Jonathan Corrie are all in there as well. I have seen a few other drivers in the mix here in the seniors brigade. I noticed that Richard Evans is in the pits, so too is Neil Fisher, and Dan Walden is here this weekend as well. So you'll see a few more names as the championship continues here at this gorgeous Clay Pigeon Raceway circuit. It really is camping and barbecue season here on the 3rd weekend of May, would you believe? It is toasty warm, it's a BEA beautiful day, and we are having an absolutely amazing time of it here at the Clay Pigeon Raceway. Now, I thought we'd get a few more drivers wandering their way up to the clubhouse here at Clay Pigeon Raceway to chat to us, but a lot of drivers very focused, of course, on what is happening in the testing session. The seniors all just kind of taking stock of the situation. We've got the likes of Neil Fisher and Matt Ogle chatting away in the pits about this and that, and we've got Carl Watt in the 160 in the pits as well, looking like he's getting ready to go out and set some times. The 241 of Will Checkley comes into the pits, and I think it's him that has been pounding around laps that doesn't have a transponder on the kart, or certainly not one that is registering the data and information from it. So good to see the drivers getting up to speed as we continue the battles in the 2018 season. Will Checkley out of his kart, the number 241 machine. And that looks like David Darling coming into the pits as well, the 285. So David Darling just checking a couple of things out and then heading straight back out onto the circuit. David Darling, of course, the former CEO of Codemasters before selling it on, and now has another mobile gaming company. So great to see him here racing and loving every second of it. He really does enjoy his motorsport. Here's one of the juniors, having just got out of the kart and having a very tough weekend, but a very competitive one. Nicky Taylor. We always like talking to Nicky because he tells it like it is. Nicky, how are things in the junior session so far?
They're going good. I mean, most karts were on new tyres, and I think like all the front five, I think mainly on new tyres. We were on old tyres. We were just trying to get a feel of our mechanic back after the first few rounds. And 8th is not what we were hoping for, but it's still good enough.
This is one of those circuits where you have to be really careful on setup because it's a very fast-flowing circuit. There's a couple of technical corners that kind of break up the rhythm and the flow. So is it very easy to find your way around here? Can you get a good feel with the track?
Yeah, it's quite easy to get your way around here because there's not too many braking points. I mean, it's quite fast and flowing, which is a really nice track to try and start karting and, yeah, go around the track for like a Sunday drive.
Now, considering last year you were fighting in the top 5 pretty much every single round of the championship, I guess this is the year, as far as you're concerned, where you really want to make a push for the championship. You want to start winning races.
Yeah, I mean, we hope this season to get the championship win and win a load of races for my first ever win, but I mean, we've just got to see how it goes.
It's very close as well this year because we've got pretty much the entire field now from the front to the back covered by less than a second, so just one slight error in adjustments in a session and that could be the difference between starting in the top 3 and in the bottom 3. So how do you feel this year is going to go overall?
I don't know, there's a lot of new competition in the ranks with obviously Callum Gunning obviously getting the clean sweep. Toby's looked quite quick, obviously Harry from last year and Scott. I mean, it's just going to be tighter than last year, I think, by a mile.
So any win this year will be a really good one. Thank you, Nicky. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, cheers.
So Nicky Taylor, one of the top drivers in the Junior Championship, was 4th in last year's championship and is hoping to go and win it this year. But that's a very tall order because there's a lot of competition, as he pointed out, and as we've already mentioned here in the 2018 season. But great to see Nicky in such high spirits as he always is. No matter how things are going, he always seems to have a wry smile in there and always tries to push himself a little bit further forward. It's great to see him doing so well, and hopefully 2018 is the year when finally he will break his BirelART UK duck. He's a very, very likeable chap, and hopefully that is the way forward. Sam Faulkner making a couple of adjustments in the pit lane before he heads out onto the circuit. 4 minutes and 18 seconds of the time session left. There's a few drivers out here who are not in any rush at all to get any testing done. That is the 232 of Jim Rainbird about to head out onto the circuit, one of the Grand Masters from last year. And we've got a few other drivers looking likely to head out onto the circuit in the next couple of minutes, but always a real contrast between the cadets and the juniors to watch the seniors, who never seem to be in any real rush about these things, who just want to spend the time they want to spend out in the karts. Obviously, we've got the number 7 of we've got one of the drivers in here of Mark Lawrence, who's always a factor. I'm hoping he'll be out on the circuit before the end of the day, or certainly close by so that we can talk to him. There's the number 6 of Elliot Stanley, who had a very interesting 2017 season. It was a bit topsy-turvy to say the least, including that mega barrel roll at fullback very nearly a year ago. And he's come out the other side and seems to be just as strong, if not stronger, a driver than he was before that incident. So good to see how the drivers develop as time goes on. The time is ticking on in this penultimate of the practice sessions, but great to see so many drivers putting in such a great performance and leaving the pits to go out on circuit. That is the 301 of Harry Barlow. So Harry Barlow makes his way back out onto the circuit to drill those laps in. And we will obviously get quite a few notifications from the drivers as the times tick down in each of these practice sessions. But great to see such amazing enthusiasm and warm affection for this championship, as there always is. And it's going to be really great to see how the drivers go. Let's give you a bit of a rundown as to how the day has gone, because a lot of people have taken turns of being the fastest of all. For those who are keeping an eye on each of the practice sessions as the day goes, this doesn't tell us a lot about the whole form book. Really, the afternoon sessions are doing that, based on the fact that the morning sessions, a lot of drivers don't even put their transponders on for the morning session. They tend to only do so for the afternoon, so we don't really get an idea of the form book until this afternoon. But for the record, earlier on in the first of the cadet sessions, in each of the 3 sessions, the fastest drivers were shared out between Jamie Scott and Archie Heron, the rookie drivers, who were well within the 41s for the majority of. Ella Stevens' previous fastest time was a 40.212, so that gives you an indication of the current pace and the current speed. In the Junior 100 session, we had Toby Baldry fastest in all 3 of the earlier junior sessions from Thomas Davison. I also have neglected to remind everybody, of course, that the Super Elite session, because there are so many drivers in the field, that the 2 sessions are actually split up in half. So the grids are so stacked for the 2018 season in Super Elites that the odds go out first and then the evens go out. So, of course, there's not going to be many drivers out on the grid setting lap times this time, because the other half will be out later. The odds are led by Sam Faulkner, Tyrone Stansfield and Harry Barlow from Sam Dimolo and Matthew Pearce, George Friday, Dan Walden, David Darling, Sean Port, Dave Burns and Jonathan Corrie. We've got another half of the Super Elites grid to go, and they don't actually get to meet each other on the same bit of tarmac until tomorrow's first qualifying session, and they only get to have all of those drivers on the same bit of tarmac out together when it comes to the qualifying and the heats. So they only meet 4 times over the course of a weekend. And it's really interesting to see how the battle develops in those sessions, as we've got several drivers waiting to go out. We've got Michael Roots, Neil Fisher, Jim Rainbird, Elliot Stanley, Richard Evans and Carl Watt all waiting to go out onto the circuit. The number 300 likewise of the man who was one of the race winners last season, Tom Massarella. We have the 210 in there as well. We'll talk about the drivers who are going to be heading out onto the circuit a little bit later, including the number 230 of Mark Lawrence, who will head out onto the circuit. Next time out, actually, at Fulbeck is scheduled to be Mark Lawrence's 250th race start in the BirelART UK Series Brigade. He's very happy about it. But it's also a double century this year for Sam Dimolo. He'll be making his 200th start in the BirelART UK Series Championships this season. So great to see so many landmarks and milestones being made over the course of the season. I was actually trying to do the maths and focus on things last time out. And it's great to see how much we're going to actually get from these spectacular battles that we see over the course of the sessions. So some terrific racing over the course of the 2018 season to come. And no doubt we're going to see some absolutely spectacular racing. I've also worked out something because of how many races that we had in the 2017 season, all in all. If you think that last year there were 12 races over each weekend, and that happened 8 times over the course of the season. Well, 12 times 8, for anybody who knows their maths, is 96. I actually hit a landmark last time out at the last round of the championship, which of course was over at Llandau, and I figured out that the 4th race of the day, which was the pre-final for the cadets, was actually my 100th race commentary for BirelART UK Series live in person, which is pretty cool actually. I thought that was a nice little moment there. I should have marked it really with something, although last time out I have to say I was given a cake because it was my birthday a few days later, and I was very, very flattered and touched to be given a cake by the cadets who all clubbed together and got me a nice cake. That was very lovely. I did eat some of it, I promise you. Didn't want to eat all of it, otherwise my wife really would have hit the deck. Anyway, so we've got the evens side of the grid for the Super Elites about to head out onto the circuit. This is one heck of a super grid for 2018. I have to say, putting these 2 classes of the 125cc grids together to make one super championship, it is just about one of the toughest championships in Great Britain now, because of course the minimum weight was increased for the Super Elites, decreased for the Super Masters, and it makes one heck of a championship because now all of them are thrown in together on the same equipment, same levels of competition, but with differing levels of experience. We've got the Elites frontrunners from last year, we've got the Masters frontrunners from last year, and we've got a few of the juniors who have stepped up as well. So it's an amazing triumvirate of factors to make the 2018 Super Elites Championship just about the most demanding of the BirelART UK Series recent history. And I have to say, the winner of this championship in 2018 really does need more than just a simple trophy at the end of the year, because it's very nearly a champion of champions, if you like, with so many incredible names on that grid. You've got the likes of Sam Faulkner, Richard Evans, Matthew Pearce from the Elites last year. You've got the Super Masters from last year, the likes of Sam Dimolo, Ben Yeomans, Michael Roots, Mark Lawrence, Jim Rainbird, all these amazing drivers. And then the juniors who have stepped up from the previous championship campaign, the likes of Tyrone Stansfield, Harry Barlow and Thomas Massarella. And that really has given it a very new credence for the 2018 season. Onto the circuit go the drivers as they get themselves ready for more. That's Ian Williams, the 300, going out, who once again, when he's not racing in the BirelART UK Series, he's actually operating cameras for Alpha Live, which is ironic because over at Alpha Live this weekend, we're going to be doing a live stream for each of the rounds of the 2018 season at BirelART UK Series, as we always do. And of course, that's going to be a very interesting battle for the 2018 season. So as the drivers run around the circuit once more, I'm getting my vocal cords all tuned up and prepared for my 106th live race commentary. So the evens end of the grid for the Super Elites are now putting some laps in around the circuit. Jim Rainbird is currently putting the fastest time in at the moment, the 35.5. And then we have Richard Evans, Michael Roots, Elliot Stanley, and the 160 Ben Hitch, who is in that mixture as well. Then we have Neil Fisher, Mark Lawrence, Tom Massarella. Richard Evans goes to the top for the moment, 35.252. From Rainbird, Roots, Fisher, Hitch, Lawrence, Stanley. Stanley now displaces Lawrence. Massarella has been displaced by Williams, as has Matt Ogle, Jamie Hunnisett, Carl Watts, Aaron Banks and Jason Bradbury. So again, great action from the Super Elites. And I was telling you a little bit earlier about the ebb and flow and the pendulum swing between each of the individual sessions. So I'm going to try and wind back to that again, because I didn't actually mention the Super Elite classes when I was talking about it. So we'll go back and let you know what was happening earlier on in the day in the Super Elite sessions. Well, Harry Barlow has been consistently the fastest of the odds number drivers from the earlier sessions. Matt Ogle was the fastest in the first Super Elite even session. Carl Watt was the fastest in the second, and then the third, it was Mark Lawrence. So it's all been very even over the course of the sessions from the Super Elites thus far. But great to see that the competition is going to be very close over the course of this weekend here at Clay Pigeon. And we're going to get to see some great action right from the off, pretty much. I mean, we've had Ella Stevens, Tom Davison and Sam Faulkner now set the pace from each of the previous timed sessions. And we are not quite sure yet who is going to get the ultimate pole position. To give you an idea of what we're up against in this evens session, Sam Faulkner's fastest time from practice just ducked under 35 seconds. And when I say just ducked under 35 seconds, I really do mean it. He said a 34.999. Someone called the cops. He just broke the 35-second barrier. Richard Evans has gone faster than that, though, a 34.959. So he's found an extra 0.04 of a second somewhere very early on, actually, in this timed session. So I wonder if the circuit is changing as the day goes on significantly enough that it is going to put quite an interesting challenge into the mix there. Now, the cart that was going around that didn't have its working transponder data has now been corrected, and it is the number 8 of Jason Bradbury, who's doing some pretty good work, actually, around the circuit. It was quite interesting. Jason Bradbury actually called me earlier in the week via Facebook and said, "You're on Radio 1, mate." I'm like, "No, I'm not." There was a clip from one of the races at the weekend at the Po Grand Prix, and they were talking about young Enam Ahmed, who's now racing in Formula 3, and he said, "No, I could have sworn that was you." I got a cheeky bottle of water there, and I certainly need it, to be fair, because it's going to be an interesting day at the office in this sort of heat. It's been very, very hot, and of course you have to take into account that somewhere like Clay Pigeon, no matter how hot the air temperature is here, the track is such that it will probably be an extra 4 to 5 degrees Celsius compared to the air temperature. So let's say, for example, the air temperature is about 21, 22 degrees, which I think it is. You've got to add another 4 or 5 degrees to that to get the ultimate track temperature. And that's where tyre degradation is really going to play a factor over the course of the weekend. I love the buzz of BirelART engines. It's absolutely amazing, isn't it? What a fantastic championship this is going to be in the 2018 season. That Army chirrup as they go down the straight. A fantastic season, this Control Championship with everything that is needed, with some amazing work for the BirelART UK Series in 2018, with some amazing suppliers that give us these fantastic tools to go racing with the Freeline company supplying us behind the scenes, Army giving us fantastic engines, Vega giving us brilliant tyres, and then we have all sorts of amazing partners from XC, Freen, Nearline, Beta, and of course Bell Helmets, giving us some absolutely amazing toys to play with over the course of the season, and we're incredibly grateful. Now, chatting about drivers to talk to, let's see if we can have a quick word with Harry Graham, who's been bantering around the circuit over 4 sessions. Harry, what's the track like out there?
It's not my favourite track, but it's all right. It's not bad. Yeah, some good corners, makes it quite interesting.
When it's really hot out here, does the track change over the course of the day much?
It can get slightly faster and slower, but you can't really tell. Your times just end up being better.
So when things are so close here, how do you make the difference in terms of setup to make that little bit of a gain?
Just try little bits, come into the pits and change stuff in there. So, yeah, it's just so close, really. I mean, quite a lot of it's down to tyres at the moment.
Now, you've been consistently in the top 5 for the last couple of seasons, but your good mate Tom Davison has often struggled, so you must be quite happy for him that he got a fastest time there in that previous session. He must be buzzing at the moment.
Yeah, well, he was getting very fast to the back end of last year, and, well, start of this season as well. It's been really fast, but just hasn't had much luck in the races, so it'll be good to see how well he can do tomorrow.
Well, what's really interesting is that the times are completely different to what we saw at Llandau, whereas the other 2 classes are kind of similar. Here at Clay Pigeon, the times, the order is very different to what we saw a few weeks ago.
Yeah, not really sure why. It's just, I don't know, it must be the type of track. It's lots of straights, even though it's a short track. So I think it makes a big difference.
It's going to make qualifying very interesting tomorrow. Got any tricks up your sleeve?
Probably best thing to get a bit of clean air, because there's a lot of tight corners as well as it being fast. So yeah, if we're in the slipstream, probably just lose it around all the fast corners with the dirty air and that. So, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
All right, cheers, Harry. Good to catch up with you.
Yeah, thanks.
So there you go. It's always very interesting when the ebb and flow of the day is changeable, and that track conditions, there's always going to be a very interesting battle through the course of the 2018 season, particularly over the course of one day of testing. You're always going to get a very different start to the day compared to a different end to the day. And drivers are having to work hard to get a decent balance consistently. And in terms of finding the ultimate pace, it's always going to be quite hard to gain the ultimate balance. Well, the cadets are coming back. They are forming up into the pit lane once again. Great to see them, looking resplendent and ready for action as Archie Heron gives me a nice wave from the pit lane there. He's been having a great day so far, actually. Been very fast and consistently up towards the front end of the field. And even when everybody else put their transponders on, he remained there in the top 6. So great work from Archie Heron. And Tom Davison, for once, has got a lot to grin about from ear to ear. Fastest in the previous practice session. Thank you. Very nice indeed. It's always good to see everybody seeming so happy around Clay Pigeon. Everybody loves coming here. It's a good sort of weekend away from everything, right down to the bottom end of the country. We're not far from the beach here, of course, and a few people would have actually driven past the beaches of Bristol and Weston-super-Mare to get here. I know I did yesterday. I was very tempted for all the traffic jams just to stop at Weston-super-Mare for an ice cream. I didn't in the end. I might do on the way home tomorrow, though. But fantastic work from all of the guys in the cadets, the juniors and the elites, as we get ourselves ready for the final couple of minutes of this elite session to see if there's any major changes. Well, at the moment, Richard Evans is the man on top form and still remaining there. Jim Rainbird second, and then Tom Massarella in P3, Jason Bradbury and Michael Roots, Neil Fisher, Ben Hitch, Ian Williams, Mark Lawrence and Elliot Stanley rounding out the top 10. Then it is Carl Watt from Jamie Hunniset, Matt Ogle and Aaron Banks. And we've got somebody out there at the moment who is running, but the transponder data is not showing their name. I'm trying to figure out who it is at the moment. It's quite tough to tell when you've got so many drivers out there on the circuit. And that particular driver, I think, is no longer setting laps. I think they've come into the pits. Oh, it's the 2:10 that's come into the pits, having put a few laps in. Now, I'm trying to remember who the 2:10 is, because we've obviously only just started this season. And so many drivers to remember in this field. While I figure that out, if you're watching along on Alpha Timing, you're about to see the seconds tick down to 0. And then when we do, we'll go round again for each of the classes one more time. And that will give us our final reckoning as to who is going to be in a strong form for the last practice session. And I'm going to remind myself instantly and kick myself for having forgotten who it was in the number 2:10, because I'm sure I'm going to remember instantly. It's Solomon Patience. That's why, the novice. Solomon Patience is the only novice in the grid in 2018. And that's why I couldn't remember Solomon's name, because it's the only one that I haven't got used to yet. But still kicking myself a little bit, because Solomon was very quick at Landau. But apologies, Solomon. With patience, I will get your name right more often. And yes, that was the worst joke in history, and please kill me for telling it. Anyway, the cadets are forming up again in the pit lane as they get themselves ready for their final time session before they can kick back and warm up the segways and bicycles. A lot of people have brought them, of course, this weekend, but they're not allowed to use them until 5 p.m. when all of the track sessions will have ceased. But there's some great racing to come over the course of the weekend, because, of course, each of the classes have 3 races each. We used to have 12 races in a weekend. Now we have 9, but we have 9 gripping races through the course of a weekend. And as previously stated, having done the math, last year we had 12 races in a weekend 8 times over the course of the year. Now, doing my quick mathematics, that's 96 races. So the cadet pre-final, last time out at Landau, was my 100th race commentary live in person. And I'm quite happy about that. I'm hoping by the end of the season we'll get to 150. And if I do the math, I think we probably will. By the end of the meeting, we'll end up on 100. Well, my 106th commentary will be next. Will be the first cadet race of the day tomorrow. And you add 9 to that, that takes you to what, 114. I'll do the statistics and I'll try and figure it out, but I'm being very nerdy at the moment. Let's quickly catch up before he disappears. He thought he could get away with it. This is what happens when you come up on the balcony, Toby Baldry. Toby, the morning's practice session was a really good one, because in all 3 sessions you ended up at the top step, so clearly the preparation's going well.
Yeah, it's going well. The tyres are shot now, so we're trying to find a different set which will work better. But yeah, we should be up there tomorrow.
And this is a really difficult circuit for tyres, because it's so hot here, and obviously a very fast circuit, so there's marbles pretty much everywhere.
It's hot and abrasive, and the tyres are basically melting, so we've got sort of delamination on all the tyres, so we haven't got much grip at all.
Well, the good thing, I suppose, from your point of view, is that if you haven't got any grip, neither has anybody else. So you're all in the same boat. It's just about how you prepare for it.
It depends, what sort of, because obviously the better the tyre, the less delamination and the more grip you have. So it depends what other people, the tyres, have done before. I don't think
it's really good in the juniors, because we've got a completely different running order from the first practice session today than we had at Landau.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because no one's sort of you'd expect the top 3 people from Landau to be the top 3 here, but it's just sort of all reshuffled and that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
That's what we like. Hopefully we'll talk to you at the podium tomorrow afternoon. Have a good one, Toby.
Thank you.
So Toby Baldry talking about the delamination there, and that's really an important factor this weekend with the heat and with those tyres. It is going to be a tough one, because every single driver is basically on the back foot, because that overheating of the tyres and the delamination, everyone's got that same difficulty. It's not so intense in the cadets, because the cadets are not pushing as hard, but they also have grip difficulties as well. So everybody pretty much has that same difficulty to deal with. But the drivers are heading out onto the circuit now in the cadets. They will leave the pits very shortly as their final 12-minute practice session gets underway, and they will be headed out by the 98 of Craig Evans, the rookie, who will be the first one out there. The green flag flies and they leave the pits and they will go running out onto the circuit. So here goes Ella Stevens out onto the circuit, the reigning champion, fastest from the previous session and hoping to remain there, but it's very close in the cadets. In fact, a few of them have decided to let the rest of the pack go before they head out onto the circuit, namely Charlie Humphreys, championship leader Nathan Ty, Oakley Keatley and Aidan Hassan, the two drivers who fought for the rookie supremacy last year. The rest of the drivers, however, are currently battling their way around the circuit as they go out onto the track and try and get some moves. Great to see these cadets. It's an even stronger field than we saw last year from the cadet brigade, and there is some absolutely terrific racing to come from these guys today. Do not underestimate it. They will be on his own. Elliston's making some good moves around the circuit, and no major surprises again. Ella Stevens goes to the top of the timesheets on a 40.8, so that's a much better run from Ella Stevens in the early stages of this session, and is currently running at the head of her queue. But obviously you get fast times from running behind somebody because you can use the draft to really make a good run. But Ella Stevens at the front of her train of karts at the moment and running very well indeed. So there's a good battle going on at the moment. So the racing is going to be absolutely fantastic from here on in. Then it is Charlie Humphreys. Nathan is for the heat for 40cc more under your right.
It's scary, certainly, but I just need to learn the new braking points and not to overdrive it too much.
And of course, in recent weeks, you've had a little bit more support from your local community as well, which is really good to see, you know, the local authorities helping and seeing your motor racing a little bit more.
Yes, I got backing from the East Hants District Council, and they gave me a little bit of money, and that sort of sparked the idea of moving.
In a very competitive, another great weekend's
reference it on my foot towards Birrell, and you know I enjoy it, so that's the main thing. And yeah, I can't wait to get out there next week.
Expected them to be really somewhere in that order, those top six drivers. Then Callum Lockett, Jamie Scott, the lead, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic to see his fight back. This is not quite the pace we expected to see from Aidan, but there will be more where that came from. So absolutely fantastic stuff and great battles. The checkered flag is set to come out on the cadet practice session, the final cadet practice session of the day. And I noticed that just before they head out onto the circuit for their final practice sessions, it looks like Tyrone Stansfield and Tom Massarella are just winding down with a little bit of pool inside. I wouldn't want to interrupt their game, but no doubt we will talk to them tomorrow, as there's going to be some great action for them to talk to us about. As the checkered flag will come down very shortly to end the cadet session. Callum Lockett will get one final lap in, as will the 49. No, the 49 will not get another lap in, and that is Jamie Scott finishing off his timed practice session. And a little bit of a spin on the last lap there for the 100 of Hudson Cross, as he will now come across the line. The drivers coming in, and hopefully their final laps will be in a good position. But it ends with Ella Stevens on the top of the dais once again. Ella Stevens with a 40.306 from Oakley Keatley, Kylan Ingram, Nathan Ty, Charlie Humphreys and Jamie Gurney. Then it is Callum Lockett, Archie Heron, Jamie Scott and Craig Evans in the top 10 from Lily Jeffs, Josh Turnbull, Hudson Cross, Aidan Hassan really struggling, and then we have Chase Sharp and Jamie Warner. So that are the position. Those are the positions after that session. And a finishing position there. So it's going to be a really interesting battle as they continue on and progress for positions. We spoke to Harry Barlow a short while ago. Let's see if we can have a quick natter with Will Checkley. Will, good to see you, and how are things in the 125cc's for you this weekend?
Yeah, really, really good actually. It's been a huge turnaround. I didn't do too well here last. Sorry.
Harry's got to be the person who puts faces at you for mine.
Yeah, I didn't have a good weekend last year here due to engine problems, but yeah, we just had carb setting changed and few other bits and bobs, and yeah, I seem to be really on it today, so I'm really looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, last year was a bit of a write-off for many different reasons, because every time you had a good kart underneath you, something would go wrong, and we never really got to see what you could ultimately do. The start of this year, it looks much stronger. It looks like you're enjoying your motor racing much more.
Yeah, we've just been doing a few bits on the kart, so that's why we weren't out for the last session, but we'll be out for the next one, so yeah, we can't wait to see the times, see how it goes. Yeah.
This is one of those championships where you can get an awful lot of assistance if things are going wrong. And to be fair, you know, the team behind the scenes here at BirelART, you know, they've always been really, really good at giving you, you know, advice and feedback and helping you to move forward. And it's really working.
Yeah, exactly. After a bit of advice from Andy and Carol at Landau, it seems to have worked quite a lot now. So, yeah, I feel like I'm going to be well up there this year. So I'm really confident now.
And of course, there's 3 different battles within that one championship, because you've got all of the elites from last year, all of the masters from last year, and now the likes of Tyrone, Harry and Tom who've come up from juniors. So how do you kind of filter into all of that?
Yeah, it's really good actually. It's I think it's going to be really exciting this season, watching you know, because I think Sam's got a lot of pressure this year. Now we've got people like Tyrone, Harry and Tom Massarella out there. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes, to be honest.
Fantastic. It was good to talk to you, Will, and hopefully we'll talk to you again when we get to the podium tomorrow.
Yeah, cheers.
Thanks, Will. So we got more great action from the Super Elites a little bit later, of course, because we've got Will and the likes of Tyrone and Tom that you mentioned going out later. Here come the juniors. Juniors are heading out onto the circuit now after we've had the cadets. Now we're going to have the juniors out there on track. So they will put some lap times in, and it's going to be a very interesting focus to see how well they do in this particular session, because of course we're going to have some very close battles and some close lap times from the juniors. And again, the form book is not very clear because of all of the classes in the BirelART UK Series. The juniors is the most unpredictable, because from one session to the next we don't really have much indication as to who is at the front all of the time. Last year, in each of the classes, we seemed to have a bit of a rough idea each time as to who was at the front of the form book. But in juniors in 2018, it does tend to change from session to session, and that's always a good thing because it keeps the championship unpredictable, and we don't really know who at the end of each meeting is going to emerge as the victor. I mean, last time out, Landau was all about Callum gunning, and he did an absolutely fantastic job to get things wrapped up. But now, here this weekend, he hasn't quite had that same sort of pace. But hopefully, as far as he is concerned, that is going to change. And come qualifying tomorrow, he'll be a front runner again. Now, there's an awful lot of drivers who can make the difference here, and are going to have some really interesting races to battle. But now, of course, we've had the drivers come off the karts from the cadets, and that is the last time they will be running this weekend, this particular day, I should say. The last time they're running on Saturday, and then, of course, they will get back into action tomorrow from the timed warm-up at 10 o'clock tomorrow, qualifying itself from about 10:30. So plenty of action to come from then. Hopefully a few more drivers to talk to as we prepare for action here at Clay Pigeon on this beautiful Dorset summer's afternoon. But we've got about 12 minutes of running from the juniors and each of the 2 Super Elites odds and evens groups to come. So still plenty of race action on the way. And the great thing about these particular battles is it's just going to keep on getting faster and faster from here. So how are the drivers going to respond to each of the challenges? Well, we will find out, because the juniors are always very closely matched here at Clay Pigeon, and certainly have been through the course of the day. Toby Baldry the fastest in each of the earlier 3 sessions, but still right up at the sharp end come the second session. So far, the man on form in this time session is Sam Cunliffe, who seems to have found himself a bit of a sweet spot in terms of pace. Jack Riggs second, Ben Gartside third, Morgan Cole right up in fourth, and Dylan Reid in fifth. So again, you know, it's very hard to predict who is the fastest driver in juniors this year. It's all incredibly even, and even the seeded drivers from last year are having a very tough job establishing their position at the front ends of the field. So really exciting stuff. We don't really know how this is going to work out long term. So interesting battles, and that's always looking likely to be the case for this season. So the more we see it, I guess the more the battles will intensify. Sam Cunliffe leading the way at the moment from Jack Rigg, Ben Gartside, Morgan Cole, Dylan Reid and Dylan Briley. Goodness me, Dylan Briley's up in the top 6 in his second full timed practice session. His 5th go in the car today, but right up there in the top 6. Goodness me, Dylan Briley has really found a sweet spot with this car, and he's up there in the top 6. Great stuff. 7th place at the moment is Lewis Berry, the leading rookie. Then we have Tom Davison, Toby Baldry and Nicky Taylor. Then Callum Gunning, Connor Stanton, Harry Graham, Scott Huntley, Vijay Ramlal, Alicia Barmowski, Louis Ross and Tom Harvey. And the gap between them all is very, very small indeed, to be fair. The gap between them all, just looking at the best times, well, I can't actually see the best times at the moment. It hasn't come through on my timing screens. But there's some absolutely terrific battles at the moment, and great to see the juniors doing so well. So we've had some absolutely terrific racing over the course of the Landau meeting over the weekend, and we should see some more over the course of Clay Pigeon. But there's been some absolutely terrific battles, sensational action from the 9 races we had at Landau, and I have a feeling there's going to be some more as things progress. Tyrone Stansfield and Tom Massarella seem to have finished their pool game. Not that Tom Massarella seems particularly happy about the outcome. Or was it vice versa? I can't tell. Anyway, they are now preparing for their last Super Elites session. And obviously once they've had that, they will move on to a nice evening in. And then the real race action starts tomorrow with time qualifying. But the cadets are all done and dusted for the day now. They will go into chill out, relax mode, and they'll enjoy the sunshine of it, because here at Clay Pigeon Raceway we are absolutely baked in it. I seem to remember last year we had a piñata because it was somebody's birthday. I don't think we're going to have quite the same response this time. It's not quite going to be the same. But great racing here at the BirelART UK Series Championships, guaranteed. 10 months on from our last visit to Clay Pigeon. And despite the fact that it's May, not July, as it was last year, it's almost as hot this time as it was last time. Absolutely incredible how hot this year has been already. So let's see how the times are currently shaping up. It is Sam Cunliffe at the top of the tree. And he has gone fastest of all, according to what times we've got in front of us. I'm not seeing best times of all for some reason. But the order, according to this, is Sam Cunliffe ahead of Jack Rigg. Dylan Reed and Ben Gartside, Morgan Cole and Toby Baldry, then Nicky Taylor, Lewis Berry, then Callum Gunning and Dylan Briley, Tom Davison, Connor Stanton, Scott Huntley, Harry Graham, Vijay Ramlal, Alicia Barmowski, Louis Ross and Tom Harvey. But I'm not actually seeing any of the total lap times other than their last lap times. I'm not seeing their best lap times, if that makes sense. So I'm going to wander inside and see if my timing screen by the studio desk is about the same sort of data, because I'm struggling at the moment to see what the ultimate lap times, fastest lap times are from each driver. Only the order is apparent, so we'll try and figure out if we can get a little bit more information. Connor Stanton is in the pit lane at the moment, just making some adjustments to his settings as things currently stand. And yes, again, we are struggling at the moment to come up with the best laps. We've certainly got the order, and we've got the sector times and their current lap times, but not best laps. Now that's very interesting. So I just want to see if there is going to be an update on the timing screens for that one. But at the moment, it looks like we're just going to get the order and not the fastest of lap times. So that's an interesting one. We're seeing each lap as they tick down and each sector time as they tick down, but for some reason the best lap time is not being shown on the timing screen. So I can't tell you what the lap times are currently doing, other than the fact that everybody seems to be within the 35s or 36s, to be honest. So everybody is there or thereabouts. And it's very close and even from the front to the back, but then we said that last time because it was true last time. So the drivers are coming out now for the Super Elites, firstly in the odds session, and then of course we'll have the evens session, and that will just about be us. But I'm hoping we can speak to a few more drivers before that ending occurs. We've got some really interesting races to come over the course of tomorrow, with of course the 9 races, 3 heats, 3 pre-finals and 3 finals for each of the 3 classes. 9 races in all. for the Cadet 60s, the Junior 100s, and the Super Elite 125s. The numbers, of course, denoting the CC of the engines. Great to watch them as they fly out through Billy's Blind and up through towards the S's. Great circuit this here at Clay Pigeon, always really exciting racing. Then up they go towards the Horseshoe. And some great race action is always found on those particular corners. They come out of that long flowing left-hand hairpin and then up towards the corner, named after the man who started his motor racing career here 30 years ago, Jenson Button. And up towards that final pit turn and back onto the home straight again. It's only a 35-second lap in a junior. It's about the same in a Super Elite, but it's a very, very fast lap and very, very fast racing guaranteed here. Lots of straights and lots of great wheel-to-wheel action, and hopefully a bit of slipstreaming as well as a result of those sort of long straights and high-speed turns. So the drivers will get an awful lot from this particular weekend. Oh, we got someone pulling off there, 2 cars pulling off. I think they've had an incident. That is Jack Rigg and Dylan Reed. Seem to have had a coming together of some kind up at the S's. They both got going again without any apparent damage. So I wonder if they've just accidentally tripped over each other on a flying lap. So that's interesting. Sam Cunliffe is now fastest from Ben Gart's side, and Jack Rigg. What a top 3 this is. It's a completely different top 3 to what we saw in the previous session as well. So once more, every time they get out onto the circuit, there are tweaks and there are differences, and there's a slight tweak in the setup, and it changes everything. So Sam Cunliffe, Ben Gart's side, now Toby Baldry from Nicky Taylor, Callum Gunning, Tom Davison, Lewis Berry, the rookie, and Jack Rigg in the top 8. So it's ridiculously close at the moment. Then we've got Dylan Reed. Then we've got Alicia Parmowski coming up into 9th position, according to the time screens in front of me. Louis Ross has come up to 10th. Then it's Reed, Graham, Huntley, Ramlau, Harvey, Briley, Cole and Stanton. So very interesting to see some rather unusual orders from these sessions. And I have to say, it mixes things up beautifully with not very long to go in the session at all. Just a minute left on the timing screens. But I have a feeling that there's a little bit of a hiccup with our timing screen compared to what we have for the rest of it. So that's a bit of an interesting one and a very difficult day at the office thus far. Very difficult timings, but very interesting to see the sort of pace and the order that we've got. No fastest laps coming through, just an order as things currently are at the moment. So a really interesting battle as the juniors are coming to a close, but a very strange order in the top 6 at the moment, a very peculiar running order. Sam Cunliffe from Ben Gart's side, Toby Baldry, Nicky Taylor, Tom Davison and Callum Gunning. I think we're going to see that a lot in the 2018 season. There's going to be a lot of different positions and a lot of changes in the running order as the season progresses. So we're going to see that quite a lot, I think, over the course of the season. And we're into the final few seconds of the session. The checkered flag will come down this time by. And now we are down to a 0. So let's have a word with one of the drivers who's come off the kart, actually, from the juniors, Morgan Cole. I mean, we talked to you about bad luck, and I have to say, at the moment, if we snapped your car in half, it would probably have bad luck written through it, like Blackpool Rock. What's going on?
I don't think it's bad luck today. I think it's my head's just not in the right space, to be fair. I've struggled all day, and it's just not really going well, to be
It's a difficult circuit to get right. I mean, this is a fast-flowing, very, very tough circuit technically. And with it being so close from the front end of the queue to the back, there's only a second between it all. So making the difference must be really hard to find.
Yeah, I'm struggling on parts of the track, and it's just not really going it's not really my day. Hopefully it can get a bit better tomorrow.
So you don't have to find a massive amount of time in terms of the qualifying, but the difficulty here is if you blink in the wrong direction in this field in 2018, you're going to start 6 or 7 rows behind. So, I mean, you know, where do you find that time?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, last year, I shouldn't be getting myself down. I'm there or thereabouts where I was last year, and I'm much heavier than I was, so I shouldn't be getting myself down that much. But I qualified 17th here last year and was 5th by the first corner in the final, so hopefully I can do that again and make sure my throttle stays unstuck this time.
It ain't done yet, Morgan. Keep it going. Good job.
Cheers.
It's always very, very close in the Junior Championship in particular, and the form book continues to change. So let's hope everybody is going to have a really strong day at the office in the juniors, but only one of them can win, but there's a good 18 of them who all want to win and all have a good chance of doing so. So it is going to be very tough, and they know that. Oakley Keatley flossing at me from inside the cafe. He shouldn't do that too often. He'll get an interview out of it if he's not careful. He's obviously been copying Nathan Tye, who's the best flosser. He seems to think he's the best flosser in the paddock. All right, enough of that. Stop the dance moves, lads. Honestly, this craze is going to catch on if you're not careful. Oh, Craig Evans is at it now as well. Honestly, by the end of this season, we're going to have a whole cadet grid of flossers if we're not careful. Anyway, I don't understand these terms. Oh, Aidan Hassan's at it now. Bless you. Anyway, we're going to get ourselves on with the Super Elites as they have one final timed practice session each. And it's going to be a really exciting battle in the Super Elites. They've got every single youngster, every single one of the youngsters now flossing like crazy up here in the clubhouse. Bless them. Where would we be without them? Quieter. Anyway, we'll move on, as we said. Super Elites are split into two halves this year because there are so many of them on the grid that to give them a decent, clean run in practice, you have to split this grid up between the odds and the evens. We've had such a massive interest for the 2018 campaign, and it's great to see these two classes amalgamated because it's become an amazing challenge this year. You've got a few juniors, the front runners, up from last year. Tyrone Stansfield, last year's champion, with Harry Barlow, his nemesis and runner-up. And, of course, Tom Massarella, who was a race winner in there as well, plus the Super Elite runners, plus the Super Masters runners. So it's been an amazing start to the season already. And we're going to see a lot more from it. But according to the timing screens from that last session, Toby Baldry was top of the tree again. So good to see he's got good pace once more. I didn't actually see what the ultimate lap time was, though, unfortunately. I'm going to have to go over and look at what the fastest time set by Toby Baldry was once the session has obviously come to a close, which it has. So I hopefully should be able to just look at the timing screen and get an idea as to where things currently are. So that's going to be very, very interesting and a great battle. So let's have a look and see what the previous times were from that session. The fastest lap time from Toby Baldry was a 35.305. So that's a pretty good run, actually. 35.305 from Tom Davison, who was second on a 35.45. Then Nicky Taylor, Dylan Reed, Harry Graham and Scott Huntley. Then Ben Gartside, Jack Rigg, Tom Harvey, Sam Cunliffe, Louis Ross, Callum Gunning, Morgan Cole, then Connor Stanton, Lewis Berry, Dylan Briley, Alicia Parmowski and Vijay Ramlal. And the entire gap from the front to the back is just 1.5 seconds. Really exciting stuff and a great battle in the early stages of proceedings. And it is going to be a really interesting battle in the juniors once again. Actually, let's have a quick word with a man who should have been in the top 6, certainly in terms of overall pace from the cadets. And that is Aidan Hassan, who seems to have gone all shy. He never goes shy on me. Come on, Aidan. Tell me a little bit about what's been happening with the car, because it's close, but it's not quite where you need it to be right now.
No, just not got enough acceleration, so I've not been having the greatest of days.
Mind you, your confidence is sky high at the moment because you just come off the back of winning the British Open at the Bambino Karting Club, so that's obviously, your confidence is riding high from that. So once you cure this problem, surely we'll see you back in the top 6 ready for qualifying.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, so that's the plan. Well, hopefully we're going to see that. Have a good one.
Cheers.
So having a nice evening. Oakley Keatley, I'm going to pick on you for an interview in a minute if you're not careful. They're all dancing like crazy out the back there, being very silly. Anyway, here come the Super Elites times as they will now rock on through. But Sam Faulkner is not making things any different to usual. He is still running towards the sharp end. But I kind of want to see what the difference in lap time between Sam Faulkner and Tyrone Stansfield is, because those two are obviously going to be very interested combatants this time. Well, Faulkner is not the fastest of all. That's actually Dan Walden. So Dan Walden's gone fastest of all at the first port of call. So the fastest man out there at this moment in time is Daniel Walden, then Sam Faulkner from Harry Barlow, Sam Demolo, Tyrone Stansfield, George Friday, and then we've got Sean Port, Dave Burns, David Darling, Jonathan Corrie and Matthew Pearce. But Matthew Pearce is obviously going to be finding a lot more speed over the course of the practice session. He's not the kind of driver who sits as low as 10th, 11th position for long. So there's going to be some really interesting battles from them over the course of the weekend, that is for sure. So as we continue to battle away for position, there you go, Matthew Pearce is up one place already, but this is only his second flying lap, so he's only just getting up to speed. That's why he's all the way down. Once he gets on a proper flying lap, he will be at the same sort of pace as Faulkner, Massarella, Dimolo et al. So as the elites pound around the circuit, we'll see if we can grab a word with a couple more drivers if they come up to the clubhouse towards the end. Harry Barlow goes ultimate fastest of all, a 34.862. So that's much faster, and Harry Barlow definitely on the pace right now, so good to see him moving forward. And a 34.862 is very quick indeed, considering that earlier on the times were good enough for fastest of all if you were doing in 34.9s. So good work there. Faulkner on a 34.992. Then Dan Walden, Sam Dimolo, Tyrone Stansfield, George Friday. Then it's Matthew Pearce up to 7th already. Sean Port, David Darling, Dave Burns and Jonathan Corrie. So great battles already. And a few signals going to the drivers out there on position. But these split times for the Super Elites really interesting to give us an indication as to what we can come to expect going into tomorrow's race action. And it's not very clear in the juniors at all who is going to be the race winner this weekend. We may even end up getting 3 completely different race winners from the heat, pre-final and final, and I would not at all be surprised by that. We may even end up with 9 completely different podium finishes as well, and that into the pits to make adjustments is the 197 of Dave Burns, as Matthew Pearce goes up into 4th position, so that is proof of his current pace. Pearce comes through again and is still there in the top 4. Ultimate fastest is Harry Barlow from Sam Faulkner, Dan Walden, Matthew Pearce, Sam Dimolo, Tyrone Stansfield, George Friday, David Darling, Jonathan Corrie, Sean Port and Dave Burns. And I have to say one of the things that's changed from last season to this season is that Sam Dimolo in the top 5 and last year's Grand Super Masters champion is now so much more up for the fight than he used to be, because now he's got a really tough battle on his hands. And this is exactly the challenge he wanted. He said in the off-season, I actually want to see if I can race in Super Elites. Well, now he's got Super Masters and Super Elites to race against in the same breath. And that obviously makes the challenge 10 times harder than it used to be. So he's having an absolutely cracking time of it and really enjoying his motor racing. So this is great stuff, and good to see that Sam Dimolo, to a certain extent, has... I'm not going to say he's got his mojo back, because I'm sure he's going to pick me in the bud for that one. But he certainly seems to be a much more attitude-based racer than he used to be. He used to sort of take things as they came, but now he's really up for the battle and really up for his racing. So good to see that the amalgamation of those 2 grids seems to have given him his zest for racing back again. I mean, he always was very quick and was always very strong, but even more so this year, he seems to really enjoy his racing. So great battles as the flossing continues in the cafe here at Clay Pigeon from all the cadets as they play pool for one last time. But the drivers in the Super Elites evens grid are heading out into the pit lane for their last run. They've got another 5 minutes or so to battle out on the circuit in the odds section. The cadets, as we mentioned, are still going to be very, very tight heading into tomorrow, but there's a good 6 or 7 of them, for my money, that are in contention for the victory. And there's a few more drivers that are battling away for supremacy in the last few practice sessions. But in the Super Elites evens and odds, we are still going to be very, very closely matched in terms of who's going to get the ultimate fastest time from practice. It's still very even, it's still very close. We have about 4.5 minutes left of this session. As into the pits for an adjustment comes Matthew Pearce, and he will make an adjustment to the kart before he heads out onto the circuit again. And this is one of those classes I love in British motorsport, the senior class at BirelART UK. Drivers who love karting, who want to keep karting until they're unable to do so anymore, have great pace, have great motivation, and are basically competing against some of the best in the country, because the equipment is fantastic at BirelART UK Series 125cc senior super elite level. But the driving standards are absolutely magnificent, because there are so many talented drivers aged 16 and over, all of whom have come from various different racing backgrounds. Some have been semi-professional, others have always been amateur. but they absolutely love their racing, and it's always very close, and it's always been absolutely fantastic to watch them battle away for position. And we've seen some absolutely amazing racing from these guys as sessions have progressed, and I'm sure we're going to see more of this sort of battling as the day goes on. Now, having had a bit of a run out there on the circuit, one of the seniors, having been out there for a little bit, has come back out onto the circuit, and that is Dave Burns, who has literally just got out of the kart during that session. Dave, tell us a little bit about what the circuit is doing at this late stage in this heat.
I'm not sure whether it's the tyres or me getting a bit more tired, but I feel like I'm losing quite a bit of traction compared to this morning, but I think it's probably more tyre fade than anything. But yeah, it's an interesting circuit. It's my first time here, so I'm still learning my way around and finding my feet, but yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it.
What's really interesting about the way that this weekend flows is that this session, 24 hours from now, we'll be packing up and going home. So what the circuit is doing now in this session, is there enough usable data to take into the qualifying session tomorrow, or is it a little bit of an anomaly?
I think there is. I mean, we've made some changes as the day's gone on, so we're messing around with sort of bearings and tightening up the third bearings and stuff. So I think we sort of know when we've reached the finite times now. I mean, I didn't do very well in that last session, but I think, yeah, we've sort of figured out where we should be for the qualifying tomorrow morning. So, yeah, fingers crossed we go out there, and I'm keeping an eye on Matt and seeing what he's doing. But, yeah, fingers crossed tomorrow is going to go a bit better than today.
Now, this is one of the stories of the 2018 British karting scene, the fact that we've amalgamated these two championships into one. Not only have we got the best of Super Elites from Super Masters from last year, we've also got those three hot young juniors in Tyrone Stansfield, Harry Barlow and Tom Massarella coming through. You filter into that somewhere. I mean, how tough is the challenge out there when you've got all those three factors on the same track at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, it's a steep learning curve. As you know, it's my first full season, so yeah, I let Tyrone pass me earlier on and then tried to chase him, but yeah, he's pretty quick. Harry Barlow's looking quick out there as well, and yeah, there's the heavies. You've got the likes of Sam Dimlow, who was going to join anyway, join the lights, but yeah, there's a lot of quick people out there, and it's really competitive, and it's good fun. It's good to be a part of.
And how has the weight reduction, being a Super Master, how has that affected the way that the kart flows? Are you finding it's easier to cope with now that those changes have been made?
I mean, I've still got a fair bit of ballast on there, Jake. I've got a fair few kilos. So yeah, it's all about just sort of trying to get the weight around the kart in the right places rather than all being in one place. So yeah, it's a challenge, but like I say, using fuel as a bit of ballast as well. So yeah, it's a steep learning curve for me. So I'm glad I've got Matt in my awning to give me some advice.
Tempted to give up curry, yeah? Would that make a difference?
It may do, yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Nice one, cheers, Jake.
Awesome stuff. It's really interesting, this championship. I love the Super Elites in particular because we've got all of these differences coming into the new season. We're just in the final few seconds of the Super Elites odds section, and there's only a few more drivers out there. This is the other difference that we tend to see with the Super Elites compared to the cadets and the juniors. The cadets will go out as the session starts, as will the juniors, and they will stay out there pretty much till the checkered flag falls. It doesn't work the same way with the Super Elites. The time starts, those handful of drivers that are really, really motivated about it and trying to make some changes will go out, but not all of them will stay out for the entirety of the session. We tend to see it an awful lot with the Super Elites, as the first man to take the checkered flag is actually David Darling, and he is one of only 3 drivers that will take it. So very interesting, and not a massive surprise, but interesting nonetheless that the 2 drivers that are staying out there and pounding around with David Darling is actually Sam Faulkner, the number 1, and the 301 of Tom Massarella. That's very interesting. 301 of Harry Barlow. Now Faulkner pits in, but Harry Barlow comes out of that session. We spoke to him just a short while ago, of course, but Harry Barlow is the fastest from that session, a 34.819. Very good work from him. Sam Faulkner second from Dan Walden, Matthew Pearce, Tyrone Stansfield, Sam Dimlow, George Friday, David Darling, Sean Port, Jonathan Corrie and Dave Burns. And that is the order that we have in proceeding from that particular session. Now we've got one more session to go, of course, but it is going to be tough to know what the order and what the form book will be from that. So great battles. Now we're about to go into that Super Elite Evens session. I'm going to come in and talk to a couple of people who have made their way up. Interesting how Tom Davison suddenly tries to run away the second he sees number one. We've got to talk to Tom because, Tom, in the fourth session, I mean, you were fastest of all. I mean, this is indicative of how close it is this year, but also how much you've been making a development.
Yeah, I put a better set of tyres. They're not as good as, like, every others, but they're better, and it paid off. It was loads better. You could actually turn in without loads of understeer for once.
It's really good to see the Junior Championship this year. We've got about 18 drivers, all separated by about a second. So from one session to the next, you don't get the same person at the top of the table compared to what you saw the last time. It's really interesting. I mean, how do you call a champion in all of that?
They just, whoever comes on the top has the best luck on the day, really. If you can get away, you get away, and that's the best thing to do. Just try and get away, and then that's the best thing to do. Just get away, and then. But qualifying's the most important tomorrow, definitely.
So obviously, all the work you've done today is all about that qualifying session tomorrow. And this later part of the day, the track is at its hottest. So how do you take that data and then go into the qualifying session tomorrow, prepared to get into that top 5?
Just tyre pressure a little bit to adapt to the weather, and that's all we do really. Don't adjust the tracking or anything.
You're quite confident the knowledge is there and capable enough for the top 5 tomorrow?
I hope so. I hope so. I want to get at least a top 5 tomorrow because that's what I'm aiming for this year, and I haven't got one yet. So, except from that Shennington, but he went on the right tyres at the right time, so can't really call that one.
Okay, well, hopefully it's going to happen more often. Well done, Tom.
Thank you. Cheers.
Great job there from Tom Davison, and good to see him making steady progress and getting to the top of his session there. Top of the timesheets for his particular group as well. Now the Super Elites Evens group comes out onto the circuit. We only had 11 Super Elites from the odd contingent last time. I'm trying to remember how many we've got from the Evens. I think it's slightly more. As out onto the circuit goes Elliot Stanley, a little after everybody else. But as we said, again, there's no set format as to when you do or don't go out onto the circuit. You have your own rhythm and your own time frame. And the seniors kind of do their own thing, really. But according to what I've got in front of me, there are 11 even drivers out there on the circuit. And they are starting to set their lap time paces now. Fastest of all as they come across the line for their first lap, although it's not a flying lap, you understand, because they have just left the pits, is, for the record, Ben Hitch, who has gone round in a 37.064. But you're going to see a much faster lap time once the session actually comes to an end. And the drivers obviously are trying to get a lot more speed out of their karts during this practice session. They'll get a lot more from the machinery. It's rather a shame, actually, as we talk about the even drivers in the group. We don't have the number 4 out there, and that is Amy Jurger, who is not racing this weekend, as obviously she is studying as a student at the Silverstone University Technical College, and it's exam season, so unfortunately that has to take priority. Her education is obviously very important, as is anybody's, and that's where a lot of drivers are obviously making a bit of a priority this weekend. There are a few who are missing Clay for that reason, because it's a long drive for a lot of people, and obviously in the heart of exam season, it's not ideal. So they will have to come back to the next round of the championship, taking into account that this weekend is likely to be their dropped score. So the drivers continue on around the circuit as we've got just a little under, just a little over 10 minutes actually, but now the flying lap times are starting to come in, and it's Tom Massarella, the 3:02. Michael Roots, Jim Rainbird, Ben Hitch, Ian Williams, Elliot Stanley, Mark Lawrence, Neil Fisher, Matt Ogle, Jamie Hunnisett and Solomon Patience, despite the fact that it says on the transponder Phil Patience. I'm fairly sure it is Solomon Patience that's in the car. It certainly wasn't the last time out at Landau. Oh, no, it's not. It is Phil. My apologies. So it is Phil Patience, and he is Solomon's father. So he has taken over the number 210. So there we are. That's an interesting bit of news there. I wasn't informed about that one. So it's Phil Patience who is in the cart, number 210, taking over from son Solomon. Very interesting. Always good to keep up to date with bits and pieces of news like that. So we will figure that out. Unfortunately, the test day is when those bits of information usually come to light. So I'm good to see that we've got a new face in the championship for the 2018 season with Phil Patience taking over from Solomon. So down the main straight, we've got drivers working in tandem and in formation as they try and get those flying laps all sorted and done and dusted. And in terms of lap times at the moment, we've got some good pace because we've got Thomas Massarella at the top of the table from Michael Roots. Ben Hitch is in there from Elliot Stanley, Jim Rainbird, Ian Williams, Neil Fisher, Mark Lawrence, Matt Ogle, Jamie Hunnisett and Phil Patience. Although for some reason, it looks to me as though the 240 of Will Checkley is out there and doesn't have a transponder on for whatever reason, or the transponder isn't working, whatever it is. So at least it's good to see that Will is out there getting some lap times in. So that definitely means that he'll be getting up to speed ready for tomorrow. Another interesting absence thus far this weekend is actually Ben Yeomans, who was doing such a fine job last time out at Landau. But I wonder if this is a round of the championship he is having to miss. And obviously it's a very difficult start to his season if that's the case. But we do hope that Ben Yeomans will be back out in time for the next round of the championship at Fulbeck in Lincolnshire, just outside of the town of Grantham. So a few drivers having made a couple of adjustments and a few changes and having come straight back into the pitch. That's Jamie Hunnisett in the pits at the moment, the number 250, with the blue, red and white machine with the lime green helmet. And very easy to spot from a distance, Hunnisett. The 210 of Phil Patience is out there. Black Stig, as I'm now going to forever call him, because he's got the black helmet, the black suit, the black gloves, the black boots. So all very good there. Now the 302 of Tom Massarella is the fastest of all at the moment in this group anyway, and has done a best time of a 35.185. So it's not quite in the 34s yet, which is what we were seeing from the previous group. We saw a 34.8 from Harry Barlow. But the 35.1 is pretty good from Tom Massarella, and he can be happy with that. But I have a feeling he's going to try and find a bit more time. Phil Patience is out there. Looks like the 160 of Ben Hitch has come into the pits, the novice. And that is him done for this particular session. So it's Tom Massarella from Michael Roots, Mark Lawrence, the Grand Master, then Ben Hitch, Jim Rainbird. Lawrence goes second, actually. So Lawrence has gone second on a 35.335. And I have to say, Mark Lawrence is looking particularly motivated this particular weekend. So let's see if he can continue on with that kind of pace, because he's looking very, very in command of things at the moment. But Ben Hitch and Jamie Hunnisett are done with their lap times at the moment. So Massarella still fastest from Mark Lawrence, Michael Roots, Jim Rainbird, Ben Hitch, Elliot Stanley. Then it is Ian Williams from Neil Fisher, Matt Ogle, Jamie Hunnisett and Phil Patience, father of Solomon, having taken over that kart for this weekend. And now we're into the final few minutes of this session, just under 6 minutes remaining. Will Checkley is out there as well, of course, but we don't know what his lap times are, but I'm guessing, considering his earlier pace this morning, he will probably be somewhere in amongst the top 5 with the sort of pace that he was showing in the earlier sessions. He certainly seems very happy with his lot. Out onto the circuit again goes Michael Roots, having made an adjustment. And we are drawing towards the close of our live stream here at Clay Pigeon Raceway. We've just got a few minutes to go in the sessions. Once they are wrapped up and done, we will go into our shutdown period for the nighttime phase, and then we'll be back live on air from Downforce UK, from the Clay Pigeon Raceway, and on Alpha Timing, on the BirelART UK Series Facebook page, courtesy of Alpha Live, I should say, and that will be from about 10:30 tomorrow morning. So all should be really exciting after that point, and we'll get some absolutely brilliant racing as a result of what we'll get to see. But qualifying is going to be very close tomorrow based on what the cadets, juniors and Super Elites have given us. Super Elites, it's not really clear-cut who's going to be on pole position either, because the man on form, Sam Faulkner from Landau, is not as fast as he originally was earlier this morning. I mean, he's fast, but Harry Barlow has been able to go faster. And Richard Evans was faster than him in the previous row of sessions as well. So it's not clear-cut. And again, this is what we wanted from the 2018 season. We did not want it to be straight and simple. And we certainly wanted there to be a great battle. And that's exactly what we've got at this early stage of proceedings. So we're going to see some cracking racing, whatever happens. So the final minutes of the Super Elite even session draw to a close. We've got just a little under 4 minutes remaining. It's Thomas Massarella that has set the initial pace with a 35.185 from this particular group. Mark Lawrence is second quickest from Michael Roots, then Jim Rainbird, Ben Hitch in fifth, Ian Williams in sixth from Elliot Stanley, Neil Fisher, Matt Ogle, Jamie Hunniset and Phil Patience. Now to try and combine that with the times from earlier, it is very comparable. And we're going to see some really interesting battles in qualifying tomorrow. Into the pits comes the 2:10, and I think that's all she wrote for Phil Patience. He's done all the testing he needs to do. So that's fine and dandy from his point of view. And clearly he is having as much fun in the number 2:10 as his son Solomon was. So good to see him out there. I think it'll be a bit of musical chairs between those two over the course of the season. And great to see that the action's been great between those two. If the drive is basically about musical chairs between Solomon and Phil, I wonder if I could play, and maybe I'll get a drive at the last round of the championship at Wilton. No, probably a bad idea, thinking about it. Anyway, as that session is drawing to a close, we've now got Matt Ogle coming into the pits, fresh from being young Fanastras's race engineer in the Formula 3 European Championships at Po last weekend. But Matt Ogle having done a fair job there on a best time of 36.0. See, it's incredibly close. That's the thing in this championship. In the 125cc's, it is so tight from the front end of the grid to the back. And with this new distribution of weight, increasing the minimum weight in the Super Elites and decreasing the minimum weight in the Super Masters, has definitely made things hard for the drivers concerned, because they're having to work twice as hard on setup, twice as hard on balance. Everything is very, very tricky in the 2018 season. And that's giving us a really fantastic spectacle. Oh, and that's a broken down Will Checkley. That is a broken down Will Checkley over at the S's, and he's carrying his wheel. He's carrying his wheel. Now, that is not good, so it looks as though the wheel has come off on the far side of the circuit. Yellow flags at the chicane. But, well, Will Checkley was having a good day at the office, he was telling us. It's all seemingly gone apart now. But that's a wheel come off the front end. So the front wheel has come off the kart. And it looks like the right front has come off, so goodness knows what happened there. But, yeah, Will Checkley, very difficult situation to be in from his point of view, with just over a minute to go in this timed session. So that is a very difficult day at the office then for Will Checkley. Certainly the ending of it very difficult. It was going quite well up to that point. But we don't really know what his lap times were doing. So provided that the kart isn't too badly damaged after that little excursion, if they can get it all set up and ready for quali tomorrow, hopefully he'll have a good day at the office. Now the 80 has just come out onto the circuit. Now that's the 80 junior kart of Lewis Berry, and that's for scrutineering. So I'm seeing things I shouldn't be seeing, really, because it's making me confused. Anyway, the time is going to come down to nothing, and that will wrap things up here at Clay Pigeon Raceway for today. Don't forget that we are live again tomorrow on Downforce UK and via the BirelART UK Series Facebook page on the visual live stream for qualifying, heats, pre-finals and finals for each of our three classes for cadets, 60cc's, 100 juniors and 125 super elites. And that will be all the way through the day tomorrow. It's going to be absolutely action-packed right from the word go, with all three classes very hard to predict. In cadets, it's close. In juniors, it's closer. In Super 125s, it's even closer still. And that's what we like coming into this 2018 season. Unpredictability. The checkered flag flies here at Clay Pigeon Raceway for the last time today before we head into our evening's break. And we will get straight back into the action again tomorrow. And it's going to be really great racing here at Clay Pigeon Raceway. So that is all the preview you need. You can take this and digest it and get yourself ready for a nice bright start with a bacon sandwich at 10:30 tomorrow morning as we crack on with the action here from the second round of the BirelART UK Series Championships at Clay Pigeon Raceway in Dorset, just down the road from Jenson Button's old pad. And we'll go racing for the second time this season in the 2018 BirelART UK Series. Who's going to win? Unpredictable.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris and you're listening to Downforce Radio.